Welcome to PCMC, Pop Culture Man Children. I am Mike Bongiorno. Sitting across from me is more than meets the eye, Mr. Emilio Sparks.
You know, I'm looking at your calves. They're kind of meaty.
I'm glad you noticed. I'm happy that you said something.
Your legs might be the most muscular part of your whole entire physique.
Take a grab.
They really are solid.
Not bad.
No, they're solid.
I work the legs a lot. People often say,
boy, look at those calves on that Mike Bongiorno.
no, one thing I've heard people say more than once to me, which always is insulting, but they think is a comment, is they go, oh, you're not in as bad shape as I thought you were. Like, I think people think I'm all going to be sloppy, and then if you get the privilege of being intimate with me, you're surprised that I'm not, just all over the place.
Oh, so shrews that you've tamed in the bedroom have said, you know what? I thought
Shrews
you were worse.
that I've tamed in the bedroom.
Pal, we talked about Shakespeare last week.
Yes, but shrew's not a good word.
The taming of the shrew.
I also don't like to think of taming. Time's up for that kind of talk. Time's up, Shakespeare.
For more information on who we are and what we do, please go to the Instagram at PopCultureManChildren. Use that hashtag PCMC. You can find us on every single podcasting streaming service
Certainly
available.
not Spotify.
No, we're on there.
Well, then not Apple Music.
No, we're on there too.
Well, fine, but I'm sure I can't find us on Stitcher.
No, we're there.
Is that right?
We're everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But not Google Play.
No, there too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So everywhere you can find podcasts.
Anywhere that you stream your podcast, we're there.
What if I just look up at the night sky and wish upon a star?
We're there.
We're there.
We're there. We are that star, actually. The twinkle in our eyes, guys, is that star.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this today?
Well, it's a mini-sode.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about the toys that made us. We talked about the first 4 episodes, and now we're going to talk about the rest. Actually, the creators of the show keep saying it's the second half of season 1, but according to Netflix,
It's season 2.
it's season 2. But in the opening theme song, they go, it's an 8-part documentary series about the toys that we all know. So I don't know what to call it. Let's just call it the new episodes.
Well, there's just a lot of toys that they're not covering still.
What do you want them to do?
My Little Pony, Strawberry Shortcake.
Or let's go down what they've done so far. In season 1, it was Star
He-Man.
Wars, He-Man,
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, and Barbie.
And Barbie.
Which are 4 great ones to start with.
Yeah.
The new season is Transformers,
Star Trek. Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty, and Lego.
Yeah.
It's going to be diminishing returns after this, right? I mean,
no. What do you mean diminishing returns? They could still do Thundercats.
You're right.
They could do one episode of just these weird spin-offs like GoBots and...
Well, they got into GoBots with Transformers a little bit.
Okay. So far, I watched 2. I watched the Star Trek, and I watched Hello Kitty.
Right, which was
Because
a weird one.
I was like, the toys that made us Hello Kitty, I really didn't think that was...
Yeah, I didn't think
It was a
it was
thing.
much like the Barbie episode where I thought I wouldn't be interested, and I ended up being fascinated by how that company started. Sanrio, which started basically just making like bullshit. Like their model was, instead of creating a product and making 100,000 of them, we're going to make 100 products and make 10,000 of them. For a collector, if you wanted to collect everything, it's
can.
impossible with Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
But they get into that with Star Trek too, the idea of collecting everything. Because there was a point with Star Trek The Next Generation where they thought
1710.
1710, which is the number of the Enterprise, they thought, we're going to put out a set of these exclusive figures, and we're only going to do 1,701 of them. And it basically killed the line, because the fans that were collecting everything were like, oh, well, I can't get this, then my set's not complete, then fuck this series.
Yeah.
You got to think about the OCD of your fans.
See, that was an interesting episode, and I like how they start off with that one.
What did you like about it?
Well, one, that the toy franchise just completely flopped with the exception of 3 occasions.
Mm.
The AMT, Diecast, Enterprise, and then...
Which is really a model, but none of the toys were good, so people
and then
flocked to it.
the Galileo.
Mm.
Then they made the smaller versions of the phasers and the walkie-talkies.
Right.
Then you had that weird boom where I think Gene Roddenberry kind of messed up, where he would just every time, all right, buy the rights for this one, you're going to take this, because he wanted to make cash on it.
He made a lot of deals they shouldn't have made. He let a lot of people make a lot of toys. Because there's a long history of, in the beginning, of people taking pre-existing toys and just slapping the Star Trek name on it.
My favorite was the parachute, the disc guns, the helmet.
The helmet is classic, terrible toy.
Which I would buy in a heartbeat.
Oh, I'm sure if you could find it now, it would be worth something.
It said Spock.
It's the most ridiculous thing, folks. Think of like a helmet. Think of any helmet.
Siren.
But then it's got a siren on it.
There's some antennas going in the back.
Right. There's two versions. One that just says Spock and one that says Kirk. And, of course, these ridiculous things were not worn in the show. They're not part of the show. They have no connection to the show other than the word Spock being written on them. There was a lot of that. A lot of failures. Like the Army men. This is supposed to be Spock. And it's like, Spock doesn't have a rifle from World War II.
No, there's no tank.
Yeah.
There's no glider.
Yeah.
It's space.
Yeah. They did a little kitty chalkboard where they put the Enterprise upside down. The guy who talked about that was super pissed. He was like, this is fucking ridiculous. He's still bent out of shape about that.
Wouldn't you be?
I mean, I guess if I saw something where you had the TARDIS wrong, I'd be like, I'd be like, what the fuck is, I'd flip a table.
Yeah, you wouldn't be a happy camper, pal.
Yeah, like if it didn't say police box, if it said like hospital or something, I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
If it said talk box, you'd be like, no, that's not what it is.
Well, they had the wrong amount
the wrong color.
Oh, how do you get that wrong?
If it was like fuchsia.
TARDIS blue, it's its own color. I'm getting angry at this thing that didn't really happen.
What I got a kick out of was all these failures, and then once the show hit syndication,
right,
then there was a big boom again because through Paramount. And then the toy collectors who did Planet of the Apes and all the Marvel DC stuff took it over. Who is that embezzling creep?
Oh my God, that guy was the greatest character. You're talking about Marty Abrams, Toyman. Marty Abrams, Toyman, who eventually did what?
Time.
He did time for embezzling. Which is the same thing that happened to the Barbie people.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on in the 80s? See, that's a whole nother show. The Toys That Made Us as a documentary is very lighthearted. I want to see the dark version of this where they're talking about all the shenanigans that was going on.
The sex, the drugs, the violence, the toy murders.
I want a whole series on Marty Abrams, Toyman.
Dude, did you...
That's how he introduces himself. Marty Abrams, Toyman.
Well, he was on the first series, too.
Yeah. And Marty Abrams famously said no to Star Wars,
which they kept on bringing back over.
But he's like, "Nah, I didn't do it, and it wasn't me."
Again.
He can't live that down.
No.
The interviewer said, "How do you feel about that?" He's like, "How do I feel about it? 40 years later,
you got a rope." Could you imagine?
Marty Abrams was great.
Could you imagine being the guy that said no to Star Wars? Because he wanted TV deals because they were just a quick turnaround.
He'd rather, because you know what? He made a lot of money on the toys for the $6 Million Man. He was like, I want another TV series like that. No one cares about Star Wars. He has all these excuses. He was like, I wasn't in the office. Then there's another excuse where he goes, they didn't have anything. They didn't even have a trailer. They showed me one little drawing of Darth Vader. I said, what the fuck is that?
He said that he took a company that was worth, I don't know what, $5 million.
Yeah.
And then at the end, with everything with all the intellectual properties that they bought at the time for licensing, he turned it into $150 million business.
He owned DC and Marvel.
Yeah. And those figures were nice.
Yeah, they were like doll size. They had real cloth. I guess you can say Lego now has both DC and Marvel. He even talks about how he had DC, and then his son was like, but what about Spider-Man? And he was like, all right, let's buy Marvel. And that was back in the day where you could do that, probably for nothing.
But those were detailed, though.
Even though cool toys.
But they took liberties, though, where they used the same thing with the repackaging of...
Oh, yeah, the lizard from Marvel ended up being one of the lizard alien from Star Trek.
They took the head from the lizard from Marvel, and then they took the body from Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
And then they took the clothes of a Klingon.
The monster in the show doesn't even wear clothes.
No.
But they threw clothes on it.
Yeah. Well, you can't have a naked lizard running around.
No, that's indecent.
Especially back then.
Marty Abrams knew how to cut corners.
He was a toy man.
Yeah. He knew how to skim a little off the top, too. That's why he ended up serving time.
He was slick because he made phasers. He made communicators.
Yeah.
They did the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which one was it? Was it his company or was it another company? No, it was Playmates.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I loved. When Playmates said that they fucked up and was like, we shouldn't have copied the Star Wars 3 3/4 inch.
Yeah.
It didn't have playability.
So that's the original series. And then what happens with the movies is they keep betting on the wrong movie. They do toys for the first movie.
It flops.
Or kids don't like it. They don't do toys for the second movie. The second movie is a huge hit. They go, okay, we'll do toys for the third movie. Third movie is not a big deal. They keep making the wrong bet. Every time there's a successful movie, they don't make toys for it. It's not really into the next generation where they have a consistent line, where they make a lot of characters.
Which was odd to me because when I would watch that as a kid, I was like, this shit is boring. This is for adults, man.
I think that's something they figured out. They were like, there are adults getting this.
They got hip to the game quick.
Which is why they realized we can't do what other Star Trek toys have done, which is not put details into it. These nerds love it, and they know the details. We've got to put the details in.
But why was that such a doomed franchise in the toy department for?
I don't know. You look at Star Wars, right? They make the deal with Kenner, and Kenner makes smart decisions.
Yeah, but it
and
predates,
Lucas was
though.
smart. Yes, but I'm just taking that as a good example of how to do it. I don't think
Star Wars kind of rips off Star Trek, though, with the idea that it's a Western in space.
Sure, I'll go with that premise. And Gene Roddenberry made bad deals.
Yes,
Paramount
he did.
made bad deals. That was the thing. They made various deals. I mean, they did deals to, like, you can make ice pops and you can do dolls. You know, they just made every deal they could. Lucas was smart enough to basically pick what he wanted and say, this is how to do it, and I trust this company. And it ended up working.
Yeah. Well, it was also a movie.
Right.
Also wasn't a television show that was already 10 years old.
Yeah. I'm not really a Trekkie. You know, it's not a fandom that I'm super into. I've seen all the movies and I do like it, but I'm by no means a real Trekkie. But like you said, Star Trek is more intellectual. There's more standing around and talking. And in Star Wars, there's a lot of jumping around and laser swords and stuff. So that also might be part of it. I don't know.
Well, the first movie was almost 3 hours of dialogue with limited interaction.
Yeah, it's funny. The first movie, Star Trek: the motion picture, the movie coming out was inspired by Star Wars' success, but the movie's not inspired by Star Wars. In fact, the movie is actually more of a ripoff of 2001: A Space Odyssey because it's super intellectual and it's super slow.
Well, that was Gene Roddenberry.
Right. That was the thing. Gene Roddenberry wanted it to be this very heady thing, and Paramount always wanted it to have more action in it.
Which was why the second one, The Wrath of Khan, was...
Right. I think that was the one where he, like, kind of got kicked off of it.
Yeah, and then he killed off Spock, and then the third one was The Search of Spock.
Right.
Then the fourth one, I don't know.
I think the fourth one is...
How many movies are
the one
there?
with the whales? Oh, I'm not sure.
Like 1,000? It's like the Power Rangers. It just doesn't end.
The movies also have a tradition of one good, one bad, one good, one bad.
The new movies are really
ones.
good.
But you know what? I didn't like the third one of the new ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Chris Pine is so likable, though.
Oh, I love him. What was it called? Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
I wasn't into it. I love the first two, though. Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness were fucking awesome.
You know, Dr. Stephen Strange as Khan.
And you know, JJ he knows how to do it.
But JJ left that franchise to go to Star Wars, right?
He had wanted to do a bunch of things with it, and Paramount was like, no, we want to control it. And he was like, all right,
see ya.
I'll go do Star Wars.
Even though they don't let you do much of anything either.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think JJ actually liked Star Trek. He just did it as a job.
Now, let me ask you, as a collector of things,
Sure, yeah.
would Star Trek ever call to you, or no?
When I was a kid...
I could never get into those toys.
I had Star Trek toys. I had some original series toys. Even though I never watched original series, I just liked the look
But
of
from
the original
Marty Abrams,
series.
Toyman?
No, I had the ones from the 90s. There was like a cool set that it was like a cardboard bridge of the Enterprise, and then it was every figure of the original series.
Was it Picard or was it...
No, it was Kirk.
Kirk.
Yeah, it was that whole series, the yellow and the blue and the red, and I got that for Christmas. And I had some of the movie First Contact.
I never got into it. I binge watched it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It's like, wow. One of my friends is a Star Trek expert. She's a Trekkie.
That's what we need on this show.
And I spoke to her. I was like, would you want to come on and do an episode with us? And she was like, abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah, let's beam her in right now.
Yeah, it didn't work. We didn't have enough coaxium to power the
You're screwing
the
up the
transport.
stars.
Wait,
Coaxium is from Solo.
Oh.
Unrefined coaxium, of course, is what they make in the spice mines of Kessel.
And here I thought that Kessel was in Star Trek.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, Captain Kirk didn't make the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. You know that.
How does the Enterprise go to warp speed? Doesn't Sulu use coaxium?
No. What do they use? I think antimatter and matter together. I might be totally wrong.
I have no idea.
We're nerds. We can't be
Can't
nerds
do
at
it all.
everything.
Can't do it all.
But we don't nerd shame. We don't fandom shame here.
Does the Toys That Made Us do this to you, where you start to go on the Google machine and you start to think of, boy, I want to buy some toys?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because just recently I downloaded the eBay app.
Oh no!
And I haven't bought anything yet, but I've been looking around. You know, the Lego episode, and you know I'm a huge Lego fan. The Lego episode I really liked, and they were talking about some of the classic series. Like the very original set was the Lego City Plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it for about $1,000.
I think that's ridiculous.
I wouldn't. If I had the money to blow, I would definitely get it, but I won't. Also, the first castle, which was yellow, because they were very anti-war, so they were afraid if they made gray bricks that people would make like tanks out of them. So which eventually they did make gray bricks, but the very first castle was yellow.
See, they need to do...
So I was looking for that stuff.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
Like, I looked up a couple of Star Trek things. I was looking for the helmet.
Did you find it?
No.
I would totally... You and I should get those helmets and just wear them out like Devo. That should be our thing. Like, oh, it's a Pop Culture Man show. They're in their helmets. We got to get it so it says our names on it.
No, it has to be... No, it has to be Spock and Kirk. And you could be...
Who's who?
I think you'd have to be Spock.
Why do you say that?
Why? Because, you're the intellectual one.
The more logical.
Yeah, a little bit more, even though you're way more emotional than Spock, but more logical thinking.
Well, Spock does have half a human side.
Yeah,
I'm half human.
I'm more James T.
Why is that? Because you wear a girdle?
Ain't no girdle here, baby. I don't know, more cowboy, a little bang bang, shoot 'em up.
You cowboy up?
Yeah, cowboy up. Sometimes you gotta be.
You got cowboy bullshit?
No, you remember that?
Have you ever been told? Have you ever been told by superior, "I'm sick of your cowboy bullshit"?
Yeah.
Right. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, you know who told us that?
Who?
Our friend Joe Montanino.
I don't remember that.
Oh my God, Joe Montanino always used to say, "Yo, peep this cowboy bullshit, Scooge." That's where I got it from.
Yeah, but he probably got it from like some 80s cop movie.
Knowing him, yeah. I wonder what he would collect. Would he do that? Would he have been a Star Trek guy?
No, but he collected
wrestling toys. But see, here's the thing, and this is where I think they're going to miss the mark. I don't think they're going to do wrestling toys on the toys.
As Toys That Made Us? Why not? I think they could. That'd be a very interesting episode.
I think they should do it. Like they had the guy that did Galoob on Star Trek, and Galoob shit the bed as well, making certain products. But Galoob was heavy into WCW toys.
See, that's a whole history that you know that I don't. Did you have a lot of
yeah, I had
toys?
a ton. I had Galoobs. I had LJNs. I actually have 2 pristine LJNs in my closet.
Which ones are the LJNs?
The LJNs are the more like, they're not like the little Hasbro ones.
Yeah.
They're big. They're like maybe like 5 inches, 6 inches maybe, and they're thick plastic and they don't bend.
I had a couple of those.
Yeah.
They were basically just chunks of plastic you could hurt people with.
Yeah, you want to see?
They were like dolls. You know which one I had? Miss Elizabeth. Because she was like some sort of exclusive, and my brother was getting her, and I was like, I want one too. And my mother was like, all right, fine.
Yeah, look, I have pristine.
Ooh.
But these are in a custom box, though. A friend of mine, as a gift, gifted these to me. He found them on eBay in pristine condition, and then put them in a different box for me, because they just came.
My older brother had it. I'm looking at the original Hulk Hogan here. Yes, this is bringing back memories.
Yeah.
It's funny, it doesn't say WWE anywhere.
No.
Or WWF even. It's just his wrestling superstar.
Well, that's how it was. And then you had Roddy Piper.
We had this too. I remember my brother having
how pristine
this.
These are.
These are in really good shape.
See, that's why I hope that they do something like this, because they can do Galoob, LJN, and Hasbro, because those were the ones that really started the boom.
Of all the different wrestling lines, which do you think was the best?
Oh, Hasbro. Easy.
Hasbro? Which ones were those?
These are the Hasbro WWF toys.
Oh, I had some of these.
Yeah.
I actually had a bunch of these.
Those are the ones to me.
These were the ones that always had like some sort of action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he jumps or the arms do something. Like I had this Hulk. Yeah. Yeah, these are bringing back memories. It's funny, I didn't even watch wrestling though. I don't know why I had them.
Because they were action figures.
Yeah, I even had the for my 11th birthday, I remember getting the ring.
But see, that's what they market them as. They market them as action figures. Like, and to me, that's the best part.
You don't have any of these anymore?
I have them all, yeah. But they're...
No, I mean now.
Oh, yeah, they're tucked away.
I'm saying, do you have any, like, collect, like, any in package or
No,
anything?
I want to, but that is... Let me tell you something. That is an episode for later on, but you have these scumbags that somehow find lots of unopened, pristine boxes on pallets and sell them for quadruple the price, like the pieces of shit that they are.
This.
I could show you a couple of Instagrams.
Do they ever make fake ones? Because, that's a thing with Funko Pops that I just found out.
They make fake Funkos?
There are scumbags out there that make replica Funko Pops and then sell them for whatever the crazy price is. And you have to learn, like, the specific ways to look at where the markings are because there are fucking fake Funko Pops out there.
Listen, don't get caught up in the hype, folks.
Why don't we have toys?
So the toys that made us PCMC?
Well, my whole life I've always wanted a figure.
Well, I think you can make a figure.
I made a mini figure for... which you could do easily with Lego. You just find a head that looks like yours and clothes. He basically just is wearing jeans and a sweatshirt. Yeah, he's got like the scruff like me.
So did you watch the Transformers one?
I did.
And what did you take away from that?
I guess the thing that was most interesting to me was the Marvel connection because they talked about how to try to sell it in America, they wanted to make a comic and nobody at Marvel wanted to work on it because toy lines were like bullshit. They were like, that's the worst. And one dude was like, yeah, I'll do it. And a lot of the canon still of that series came from that one guy.
So wait a minute. The toy line is based on the comic book, not the cartoon?
Yeah, the cartoon came after.
Really?
Yeah. The comic was first. Our original Transformers were actually two different lines. There was a company in Japan that had two similar lines. And when they came to America, they were like, we're going to make these all one line. I went on the eBay and I was like, I wonder if I could find an original Optimus Prime. Could not.
I had one.
The original?
It's somewhere in this house. And I will find it because I'm missing...
Do you ever hear him trying... like in the middle of the night?
Let me tell you something. I'm missing some toys that I know that I had. Like, we had...
You think somebody's coming in here and thieving your toys?
Michael, we had a Kit car.
Kit?
Yeah.
As in Knight Rider?
Yeah.
What happened to it?
I don't know. And, like, you would get in the car, but you would pedal. It wasn't one of those, like...
Yeah. The motorized ones.
Fancy schmancy ones these kids got now where they're pulling up in little Porsches.
It's like that new Luke Skywalker sand speeder.
Which I think you should buy.
It's only $100 now because it came down so much.
Just put your dog in it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, is it worth $100 just for the photo shoot with my dog?
Yes.
Where would I keep it, though? It's a big piece.
The basement of Cool can house it.
No, that's too much. I wish I could buy it and go back in time and give it to me as a kid and be like, here it is. Here's Luke Skywalker's car.
But would it actually cross over in a space-time continuum? Or would it, when you would go back, it would be nothing?
No, you'd be able to bring it back, sure. I mean, I might create a paradox. That's what I would use my time machine for.
I would tell young me, don't open these. As a matter of fact, just put them away.
I tell young me it gets better. I'm like, hey, kid, it gets better.
You know, I'm a professor, right?
And little me would be like, do you turn coconuts into radios?
Clocks?
And I'm like, no, dummy.
I actually teach.
Little me would be probably not impressed.
No.
Especially I hated school as a kid. I'd be like, you became a teacher? You became the enemy?
What, only work 180 school days? To show your colleagues your calves and your quads?
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, little me, look how great my quads look. Huh? This is what you're going to grow up to be. Excited about that? Because I had very weak legs as a child. No upper body strength either.
Kids
are very weak.
You just suffered from atrophy straight out the womb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when I was real little. And then when I was like around 8 or 9, I started to become fat. I was a little fat boy.
Now you're like, now I got quads.
Now I'm like, hey.
I squat.
There's something wrong about going back in time to show your child self your adult body.
Not at all. Here, listen. Here is this.
Like, look at these guns.
Look at this here. Listen. You're going to get these toys, all right? I'm going to give you these toys, but do me a favor. Don't open the ones that you're going to tell your mom and dad you're going to get. Oh, yeah, also, this is what you're going to look like when you start lifting weights.
Look at this show. Look at the gun show.
I would show little me my abs.
I'd be like, hey, little me, start lifting weights right now.
See? That's what I would do.
And then I'll turn, like I'll feed into, like, super jacked right in front of them.
Yeah, you turn. It's like that
like
photo.
Bill and Ted.
It's like the photo in
Back to the Future.
Number 1. You go back into the modern times and your mom and dad are, like, in shape and they're rich. All because little you decided to work
yeah,
out.
yeah. Because little me started lifting weights. It really changed the whole family.
I would flex it, be like, yo, start doing sit-ups now. And then I would show him what sit-ups are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, put down the Pop-Tart. You don't need that, little Mike.
So, little Mike, listen, you got this.
Yeah.
Then I wonder, though, would you meet your parents of then, and would they know it would be you? Or would they
I would look just like my father.
Would they think, like, who is this weirdo?
No, they'd be like, who is this, some sort of a cousin?
And you'd be like, no.
Some identical cousin?
Like, no. Mama, Papa, it's me.
It'd be like that scene in Big. My mother would freak out.
See the logic in our thinking?
What, am I going to stop Kennedy from being shot? Please.
I mean, some things just need to happen.
Yeah, you can't, as we know from Doctor Who, you can't change fixed points.
No.
You know what I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with something like that.
You showing your quads to little you.
Yeah.
Would totally, it wouldn't do anything. If
but,
anything,
but maybe I would become like a professional bodybuilder and not become a professor, and then that would trickle down to so much dumber people where I live.
I don't know about all that, but
I've made a huge impact on my community.
I think that you could be, or even more, the difference in bodies and stereotypes, where they see that you're a bodybuilder, but then they think, well, wait a minute, Professor Buongiorno, not only
So you think I'd still go into the intellectual world?
Mm-hmm. Because that doesn't change who you are. Because you have to remember the focal point that makes you a professor, you're not affecting. All you're doing is just showing...
I don't know. I think the focal point that makes me a professor is probably being like a little nerd and being like, I'm going to stay in and watch Star Wars.
Maybe, but maybe...
I want to make movies.
But I also want to have rippling quads. I want to have ass muscles.
If you had said to me as a kid, what is a quad?
You would think, what, motorcycle?
Maybe. I'd be like Quadro, the character from episode 1, and then be like, no.
That's years after
you
your
little
kid.
dummy.
Don't worry about it.
All right, we should end this.
Are you sure?
Shit show.
I mean, I'm just saying, this is real interesting stuff. We're peeling back the layers now.
I don't want to reveal anymore.
You want to go bye-bye?
Yeah.
Go bye-bye.